Micromotor madness. Scale down, drive big.
Welcome back to Micromotor Madness. Today's project is all about bringing the little FMS FCX24M Range Rover back to life. Or more like, making it actually perform the way it should. Because honestly, this tiny rig really let me down during our Savannah Course test. You might have seen other videos on the channel where the Savannah Course looked kind of easy for 1/24th and 1/18th scale rigs. But that's only because those crawlers were custom-built beasts. We rarely buy RTRs here. We build our own machines from scratch. So this time, it's the perfect chance to show you how demanding that course really is, and why not every truck can conquer it. As you can see in these clips, the stock Range Rover just couldn't handle it. It struggled hard on our terrain. Now the goal here isn't to turn this crawler into some kind of super performer, because let's be honest, it never will be. Not unless you throw a lot of money at it. And that would be kind of ridiculous for a rig like this. What I'm really aiming for is to get the most out of it. Solid improvements, reasonable cost, and a decent level of performance that actually makes it fun to drive. Even then, I'm estimating around $100 in upgrades, which brings the total price of this little rig up to roughly $229, since I originally bought it for $129 when it first dropped. So yeah, that's not exactly cheap for a small crawler like this. It's never going to be a rock beast, but it'll be a balanced mini crawler. Capable, fun to run, and satisfying for quick crawling sessions or small outdoor adventures. For this project, we're not going wild like we usually do on the channel. No crazy custom mods this time. We're just installing ready-to-fit performance parts that were actually made for this model. So basically, the main upgrades for this project will be new shocks, new tires, and a set of aluminum wheels with a bit of extra weight, just to help balance out the heavier body. I'm also adding a new motor and a metal drive shaft. That's pretty much the core of the transformation. The main functional upgrades. Everything else will be more about appearance and style. To start, I had to completely tear this little rig down. And honestly, the main issue with the FCX24M Range Rover is clearance. It just sits way too low. But even worse, the transmission mount design is kind of a disaster. It hangs too low, and the shape of it catches on everything. They tried to go for a counter-rotating driveshaft setup, which means they added an extra gear section for the rear output. And that part literally drags on every rock and ledge. Combine that with the low transmission mount, and the truck keeps bottoming out instead of crawling smoothly. So, yeah, full teardown time. I pulled the transmission apart, and the first mod I'm doing is upgrading the motor. I'm going with the Injora 50 Pro motor, the purple one. The stock motor is smooth, but it just doesn't have enough torque or punch when climbing. Since the gearbox is already open, I'm also swapping out the main spur gear. The stock one's plastic, and I'm replacing it with the metal gear that comes as an extra in the box. I'm not totally sure if the gear ratio is identical, but by the look of it, it's pretty close. Either way, metal's better. Then I'm removing the plastic pinion, reusing the original metal pinion from the stock motor, and installing it on the new one. Once that's done, I'll reassemble the transmission and seal everything back up, ready for the next step. I've got to say, it's actually really interesting that FMS decided to release a 1/24th scale FCXM series rig with a compact 2-speed transmission that combines the gearbox and the servo into a single integrated unit. That's a clever piece of engineering for such a small crawler. Seriously impressive design work. But the downside is how it's mounted so low on the chassis, with a layout that causes it to scrape on everything along the trail. So while the concept itself is brilliant, the execution kind of kills the performance. And that's what makes it a bit disappointing. Next mod on the list, we're installing a set of stainless steel drive shafts from Injora. They're made specifically for the FCX24M, so the fitment is perfect. No trimming, no guessing, just plug and play. They'll add some nice weight down low and a lot more durability compared to the flimsy stock shafts. And yeah, installation went super smooth. Everything bolted right up like a dream. Next up, I'm adding a protection kit that includes pumpkin guards for the front and rear diffs, plus a belly skid plate, supposedly to protect the undercarriage. But honestly, this one's mostly for the look. If anything, it might even make things worse by catching more on the rocks, which is exactly the opposite of what we're trying to fix here. Still, I found the set for cheap, so why not? I'll throw them on and see how it goes later. At least, they should make the underside look a lot cleaner and more detailed. Kind of that armor-ready vibe. The listed price right now is around $8 and some change. That's the current price at DC Concept. But back when I bought them, they were only $3.58, so yeah, not exactly a big investment. That's mainly why I decided to give them a try. Mostly for the look, not really for performance. I'm also swapping out the stock electronics for a new FMS FlySky V6 ESC, the same one that powers the FCX18. The main reason? It gives me more plug-in ports for lighting, which is perfect for this build, because the Range Rover Camel Trophy version is meant to run in the wild, even at night. So yeah, it needs lights everywhere. I want this thing to look like a real Dakar Explorer. Headlights, roof lights, tail lights, the whole deal. Plus, the V6 ESC is just better overall. Smoother throttle response and better low-speed control. And since I already had one lying around from another rig I converted to brushless, might as well reuse it here. Next mod, I'm adding a set of fender liners made specifically for this model. They're 3D printed parts I found on AliExpress, and while they won't do much for performance, they should add a bit of extra weight down low, which is always welcome. They also help keep dust, mud, and debris away from the electronics, motor, and gearbox. Not a full seal, but better than nothing. And honestly, they just look good. They make the chassis look more complete, more scale, kind of like its big brother, the 1/10 scale FCX10 Range Rover, which also comes with proper fender liners. The only downside is installation. You basically have to unscrew every accessory attached to the chassis to fit them in. Luckily, the kit comes with a full set of longer screws, designed to account for the liner's thickness. So yeah, let's get these installed and see how they change the look underneath. At the end, this video is really meant for those of you who already own this rig. It's not about convincing anyone to buy it. It's just me showing what I've done with mine. Maybe it'll inspire your own upgrades. Or maybe it's just a cool way to compare notes with what you've already done to your FCX24M. So yeah, I'd really love to hear from you in the comments. What's been your experience with the FMS FCX24M series? What kind of mods or upgrades have you done on your rig? Let's share ideas, because that's what keeps this community rolling.
Fenders fit and line is tight. keep the dust and mud from sight. Screws and bolts all back in line. Chassis gleams, it's looking fine. Roof rack loaded, straps in place. Camel spirit in his face. Under the lights, the details glow. Ready for a Savannah show. Oh.
After finishing the full rebuild of our little crawler, I actually installed the wheels, tires, and shocks off camera. I ran into a surprise. The rear driveshaft gears, the ones that make it spin in the opposite direction from the front shaft, completely self-destructed. This issue caused a short delay. We had to wait for new parts. Turns out the problem was inside the gearbox, worn out gears. So, we're back at it again, tearing down the gearbox, fixing the damage. I wanted to show this repair in case you ever face the same thing. Now you'll know exactly what went wrong. There are two small gears that handle that counter rotation, and both of them were totally chewed up. They're made of soft brass, which bends and wears out way too easily. Honestly, I think that's a major weak point of this rig. Even the diff gears suffer from the same problem. I'd already replaced those earlier, and yeah, I didn't film that part. It's actually pretty disappointing. And after just 2 battery cycles, I've already had to replace multiple gears, both in the transmission and the differentials. To fix it, I ordered a replacement gear kit from AliExpress, the only place I could find it in stock. These new transmission gears are made from stainless steel, way tougher than the soft brass ones. And for the diffs, I also found hardened steel gears, genuine FMS parts. So yeah, even FMS knows the stock brass setup isn't up to the task. And that's why they've started offering stronger replacements. As you can see in the footage, one of the gears is completely shredded, and the other one too, though unfortunately I didn't catch that part on camera. Installing the new gears is pretty straightforward. The only issue I ran into was with the stabilizing pin that locks the gear in place. It didn't want to slide in easily. I had to press it in firmly to get it seated just right. Once that was done, everything went back together smoothly. Before closing up the plastic gearbox cover, I made sure to clean out all the debris from the damaged brass gears. There was metal dust everywhere. Then, I re-greased the gears properly before sealing everything up again.
Grease the box and close it tight. Ready again to face the fight.
At the time of this video, this little rig sells for about $100. You can easily find it for $99 at Asia Tees. But honestly, even at that price, and considering how many flaws this vehicle has that need fixing, it's really not worth it to buy it and then pour more money into upgrades just to make it decent. Sure, there are now tons of aftermarket parts available, brass axle weights, high clearance links from Injora, and plenty of other performance upgrades. But if you actually go all in, the total cost can easily climb past $300, which makes no sense for a 1/24th scale rig like this. At that point, you'd be way better off grabbing one of its bigger brothers, like the 1/10th scale models that just came out. They're around $360, far more capable, much better built, and just make way more sense in terms of value for money. They're literally 10 times the size and, honestly, 10 times the fun.
Transmission set, the chassis gleams. Shiny belly built for dreams.
After that, I reinstalled the motor, the gearbox, and all the other components, including the drive shaft that I had to remove for the second time.
Weighted wheels, grounded mic, grip the trail and hold it tight.
Now, as you can see, everything's running perfectly. The drive shaft spins smoothly again. Before it was only turning halfway, kind of locking mid-rotation. But now it's back to normal.
Weight down low, the power inside. Spaghetti wise where the leads hide.
Let's talk about a few small details you didn't see on camera. Starting with the wheels. These are Injora beadlocks, but sadly, they're no longer in production. They have 0 offset, and I've paired them with mud paw tires, size 52 by 19 millimeters. Pretty decent combo overall.
Where the leads hide.
I also added brass inner rings to give the wheels a little more weight. Up front, I'm using OGRC brass rings, 23 grams each. And in the rear, Injora 12-gram rings. This gives the rig a nice forward weight bias, which helps it stay planted when climbing.
Yeah. We ride. Let's go. Looks scary. Looks great.
And here we are, inside the chassis. The new ESC is installed, and the new motor is in place. The fender liners look really good. They make the chassis feel more compact, less skinny, and way more realistic. You can also see the wiring setup. Yeah, it's a bit of a spaghetti mess, but that's because there are a ton of LEDs packed into this rig. That's actually one of the coolest parts of this build. For the look, I added a bunch of scale accessories on the roof rack. A fuel can from Injora, a fire extinguisher, a sleeping bag, and some Camel Trophy style luggage I found on AliExpress. There's even a little gas can with a Shell logo sticker that came with the kit. I also attached an axe and a shovel from the Discovery kit, mounted right on the sides. And for the roof rack, I used military green elastic straps from Injora to tie everything down. It looks clean and tough. I replaced the stock bumper with one from a CR24 and trimmed it to make it more minimal, while keeping the central guard. I also removed the original headlight protectors for a cleaner front look. For suspension, I ended up with Injora 39mm shocks. I first tried the big bore 40mm ones, but they made the rig sit too high. These 39mm units have better compression. I'm running medium springs up front and hard springs in the rear. I also relocated the mudguard mounts, since the stock position made them rub against the tires. Now they're fixed on the bumper, and as you can see, perfectly clean, no more rubbing. So yeah, apart from the drive shafts and all the upgrades we've installed earlier, this is the final look. And I've got to say, it's pretty solid. The undercarriage looks shiny and armored, and the overall stance is spot on. We've got daytime running lights that stay on all the time. And of course, turn signals. My son insists on having those on every single build whenever possible. On top of that, we've added roof rack lights, fog lights on the front bumper, brake lights, and rear tail lights. And one thing I love about FMS ESCs, they let you toggle between two front light modes, a low beam mode and a high beam mode. Plus, you can even turn off the main headlights while keeping the auxiliary lights, like the roof rack or bumper lights on. Pretty neat feature. So yeah, that's the full build done. The little Range Rover is finally complete and ready to roll. I'll be testing it soon, but that's going to be in a separate video. A proper test drive comparison between the stock performance and the upgraded version. I didn't include it here because this video is already getting long, and I know most of you start dropping off around this point. So, if you want to see how it performs now, check out the link above to the test video. And as always, don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button, and turn on the notification bell, because trust me, the best is yet to come here on Micromotor Madness. Overall, I'm pretty happy with how this project turned out. The rig looks great, especially with all the lights installed. It wasn't an easy job though. A lot of soldering and tiny detailed work to get every single light wired properly. So here it is, the total cost breakdown of this build. Between the shocks, the motor, and all the accessories, the full project came to about $108.92. That's roughly the same as what the rig originally cost when I first bought it. And that's not even counting the new ESC, which I already had in stock. So yeah, not the cheapest upgrade, but the result definitely makes it worth it. Subscribe, like, and ring that bell. See you in the next one.